Today we're going to be talking about the movie Marcy May Marlene. It's the first in my series, the series that I'm going to be doing over the next, I don't know how long, few weeks or something, of cult movies, which is to say, not movies that are cult movies in the sense that they have gained a cult following, but that they are about cults, that the subject matter is cults. This movie, I got the title right the first time I said it, but I might get it wrong from here on in. But if I get it wrong from here on in, just know the first time I said it is the right. I'll just call it MMMM, okay, to avoid any confusion. For some reason, I just want to call it, I want to put other names in there that aren't really part of the title. The title is interesting, though, because it reflects the identity or lack thereof, or the struggle for identity, the missing identity, the sense of disassociation that has followed the main character in this movie. She grew up with a particular name that started with an M. I think it was Martha. I believe that her original name was Martha, and when she decided to become a part of this cult, the cult leader said to her, "You know what? I'm going to call you Marcy. You're Marcy from now on." And Marcy May Marlene. I believe that's right. Anyway, if I'm getting all those titles right, the important thing is with M, as I'll call her from here on in, because I don't want to quibble about whether her real name is her name given by birth, or the name the name that she was rechristened with, as it were, by her cult leader. Which of those names accurately describes her, because she's in flux for the entirety of the movie, and it's never quite clear where she's at. She's struggling with her identity, knowing just who she is, and she what she's meant to be doing. Where her heart lies. She has a sense of having been abused for a time while she was a part of this cult, and that is indeed true. It is an abusive cult, as many, if not most, groups that are called cults are. But it was a cult in which the leader was convincing and charismatic, and emotionally manipulative enough to get inside his followers' minds and convince them that they were doing the right thing, whatever it was that they were doing. So the movie goes back and forth. It's nonlinear. We see the first thing we see is the girl in question, M, a young woman, maybe in her mid-20s. She escapes from this cult, which is out in the boondocks somewhere, out in rural, maybe Pennsylvania or thereabouts. They live in this country house, and there's about, I don't know, maybe 30 of them, 30 or so total, mostly young girls, although there are some boys there as well. And they live in a simple, rustic kind of way, but they sort of skip around, do different tasks on different days, and find their place. She's told, "Oh, you'll find your place eventually." So anyway, we skip around from seeing her leave this cult, run away and then she has an encounter in town, the nearby town, with another member of the cult, a young man who, the guy that she'd sort of been paired with, who is sort of her boyfriend slash lover, because the cult leader had placed them together, and he tries to talk her into going back, and she says, "No, I'm not. I don't want to go back." And so he lets her leave. But then she doesn't exactly know what to do with herself. We find out that she doesn't have much of a family, that her mother and father are gone. One of them maybe was never a part of her life. One of them died. She had to stay with an aunt for a while who she didn't get along with. And so the only member of her family who's still around anymore is her sister, her older sister. So she calls up her older sister via payphone, because this movie is set. I think it was filmed in 2010. No, it was released in 2011, so there were still payphones at that time. And the sister that she talks to is kind of upset with her because they had lost touch for a couple of years, and the sister just didn't know what had happened to her. And M, our girl, I'll just call her M, she says, "Oh well, I just lost my phone," and that sort of suffices as her comment. But even when, she makes these kinds of comments, and she's very, instead of going into detail about what happened to her, she just said, "Oh well, I was with a boyfriend, but I found out that he wasn't who he said he was, so I left him." So her sister, and who's married, who lives with a man, they never find out the truth about her having been a part of a cult. They just think she had a boyfriend while she was out of touch for those couple of years. So we skip back and forth between how M is acting at her sister and brother-in-law's lake house, and we skip from there to seeing her in the previous year or so, when she was still with the cult, and the sort of things that were going on with her while she was with this cult. And the pieces only come together for us, very haphazardly. As I said, it's told in a non-linear fashion, so there's no easy explanation for everything. It only unfolds for us slowly. For instance, just how bad a guy this cult leader is. When we first meet him, he seems like a nice guy. He seems to greet her with genuine friendliness, and to welcome her to the community. And the people there seem nice and friendly, and it seems like a I don't know, like a place that, if one were so inclined to live, in a communal setting, eschewing all the trappings of modernity, and just live more simply, it seems like not such a bad place to be. But we later find out certain things about the cult leader, such as that he initiates all of his female followers, at least, by raping them, and it's a ceremony in which they are given some drug, and then they can't fight it, and then afterwards, after she's raped in this way, one of the other cult members, another girl, says to her, "I know that seemed bad, but it wasn't bad. It was actually good. That was actually the best thing for you. That was a grand moment for you, because that was your initiation. That was how you became part of this community." And so through clever and diabolical twisting of language, and a certain philosophy that does very much resemble, the Manson kind of creed, where things are inverted. Manson was said to be both Jesus and the devil, and good and evil are one and the same, and all this kind of stuff. And the cult leader at one point tells her, I think his name is Patrick. At one point tells her that death is the most important part of life, because because we're all afraid of death, and fear makes us become more authentic, something like that, something along those lines. And he says that to her after she witnesses one of the other cult members killing a man. The cult frequently does things like they break into people's houses, which is similar to similar to the Mansons, except instead of this happening on the West Coast, this is in rural Pennsylvania or somewhere thereabouts. They sneak into people's houses, steal stuff, engage in sexual acts while their creepy cult leader watches them. And at one point they come into somebody's house thinking that everybody's gone, and it turns out that a guy is there, and he asks them what the hell are they doing there, and they act like, okay, well, we're just going to leave, no problem. We were just admiring your house, but they just stand there looking at him. It's a very creepy kind of moment. And then some woman comes up behind him, and we think that's his wife, or we think that's his daughter or something, because he makes reference to having his family being in the house. But instead, it's one of the cult members, and she stabs him in the back and kills him. So all this stuff is going on. They're being made to do all of these things that are not good, but they've been talked into, they've been brainwashed into thinking of them as good, or thinking of them as right and proper. So when our girl M, after she escapes and ends up hanging out at her sister and brother-in-law's house for a while, she's still in such a disassociated state that she does certain things without knowing why it's inappropriate. She wants to go swimming in the lake, and she takes all of her clothes off and jumps in the lake naked. And when her sister notices that, she gets really angry at her and asks, "Why? What the hell are you doing? What makes you think it's okay to do that?" Not understanding, not comprehending that for M, she's lost, in this kind of netherworld between this state of inversion, the state of mental, intellectual, moral inversion that she was in when she was part of the cult, and her previous self, where she remembered how things are like in the real world. So she does stuff like that. She gets up on the table and crosses her legs on top of a table, not realizing that that's not really a polite thing to do either, with her shoes and socks on. And she's very verbally honest with her sister, in that she says things like her sister and husband are trying to have a child, and having some trouble. And when she first hears that the idea that her sister is wanting to get pregnant, she laughs heartily and she says she wouldn't know what to do with a baby. And later she tells her, "You'll make a terrible mother." So if you've noticed the bright lights in my face, someone has just parked across from me, got out of, it's like a pickup truck. They got out of their truck. Okay, now they went off. They looked like they got out of their truck with their brights on. And, but I guess it just takes a minute for it to switch off anyway. Things like that make me feel like a TI for a moment, but I know I'm not important enough to be a TI. So there's comfort in my obscurity. So the movie again examines the mind of a disassociated young woman, and she's what she's gotten from the cult leader is actually a mixed bag. Because there were some genuinely positive experiences that she had with the cult, even though it was horrific. Even though the cult leader is clearly evil and controlling and so forth. One of the interesting, very interesting scene that we have that we see between M and the cult leader is when the cult leader is teaching her to shoot a gun, and he tells her things like, think of something that really makes you angry. Now let that rest in your belly. Now let it come up through your arms, and now point the barrel of the gun, and now let it, almost like getting her to channel the anger that she knows that she has inside of her, because we get the feeling that her upbringing hasn't been that great, that her family life hasn't been that great, from the from the way that she and her sister interact. It seems that maybe her sister was the favored sibling, and that M was kind of seen as weird and lost, and was maybe not treated as well, or was treated as an outcast or something like that. And so we see him relate to her in a way that shows that he understands her, and shows this kind of that manifests this sense of there being some kind of connection between them, and that they both understand anger and hatred. But yet at the same time, it's also him using her to do things, like to potentially shoot a gun at some point, when he, if he wants her to shoot at somebody that he wants dead. So it's an obviously manipulative exercise, but it also has this certain power to it, where you see this connectedness. And she does shoot right after he tells her all this stuff. She shoots she hits the bullseye right on the first shot. Marcy May Marlene is most interesting as a character study of a disassociated person, but it's also an interesting look at the dynamics of a cult, how it works, how one can see the appeal of it, and at the same time understand that there's something really wrong with it, while also at the same time understanding that the outside world can force, or can push, I don't want to say force, can push certain people who feel lost or rejected into the arms of a group like this. Title itself, MMMM, Marcy May Marlene, think I got it right that time. I don't know, but the fact that she has a name and then she's given another name, which is also something that Charles Manson did. But it seems to be a common practice in cultish sorts of scenarios where they want you to just say they want you just to just completely divorce yourself from your past. Who you were before you joined the cult is nobody. That person is dead. You've been reborn as this new person, and that's the name that they give you. That's the kind of mentality that a lot of cults seem to have. And we have to acknowledge that that's a powerful psychological tactic because it does fit right in with some genuine spiritual conversions where one feels that one's old self has been put away and one has been regenerated. And there are examples. There are precedents such as Saul in the New Testament becoming renamed Paul after he stops persecuting the young Christian population and becomes one of the leaders of the Christians himself. So it's interesting, but it also shows the state of disassociation where you don't even really know who you are. You don't even really know what to be called or what to call yourself. I think it also is powerful in showing how family dissolution can lead to one's embrace of a cult. We get the feeling that that M's sister loves M and wants to help her, wants to be patient with her, but that there's obviously been it's obviously been a fraught sort of relationship, and yet she's the only one that her sister's the only family member that she really has left. The movie ends on a very interesting cliffhanger, which I don't know if I want to give it away, but we don't know ultimately in the end whether she's going to choose to be deprogrammed, as it were, whatever you think of that word, to be deprogrammed of the things that the cult taught her, or whether she's going to opt to go back to the cult. It's not entirely clear, and it's again, not to give it away, but it's done in such a manner that it makes you feel like some kind of confrontation is immediate, and it's a pretty it's kind of a rattling, discombobulating feeling for the viewer, and kind of leaves you on pins and needles in the best possible way. So I do recommend Marcy May Marlene. I'm 95% sure I got it right there, but if I didn't get it right, just look at the title that I said at the beginning of this video. I know that's correct. So those are my thoughts about this particular cult movie, that is to say, movie about a cult. If you've seen it and if you have thoughts on it, or if you have thoughts about how I've described it, please leave your comments below. Thank you for watching.